Hey monsters, thanks for tuning in to Murder Murder News, the true crime cult for the latest breaking news, murdery memes, TV reviews, podcast recommendations, and all things spooky, plus baby goats. I'm Aurora.
And I'm Angelina. This is the Week in True Crime.
Murder News.
Between last Saturday evening and Sunday morning, a gunman in Nova Scotia, Canada, went on a rampage across the province wearing an authentic police uniform and driving a very realistic-looking fake police car. Police say the car is what helped 51-year-old denturist Gabriel Wortman move around the province undetected. He moved from town to town, setting house fires and shooting the people who tried to escape their burning homes. This mass murderer created 16 different crime scenes and claimed at least 22 victims, including on-duty police officer Heidi Stevenson, a teacher, 2 nurses, and a teenage girl. Wortman's former clients described his obsession with policing and the RCMP and his hobby of buying and fixing up old police cars. Wortman was killed as he was intercepted by the real police at a gas station in Enfield, Nova Scotia. His death is currently under investigation by a police watchdog as investigators piece together what is now Canada's deadliest mass killing.
A murder suspect was arrested on a beach in Jacksonville, Florida this past weekend. Mario Gatti was arrested after he allegedly shot a man in Pennsylvania in January. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, allowed beaches to open up over the weekend despite the COVID crisis, and Mario was found at the beach by police. Mario was charged with murder, giving false information to a police officer, and drug possession. Wow, this Florida business is so fascinating to me because first you have the situation with the governor allowing people to go to beaches during a pandemic. And then you have this guy being arrested at the beach, and it kind of asks the question, does Florida breed sort of weird people that do weird things, or are people that do weird things attracted to Florida?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by how many bizarre stories come out of Florida, and I've seen a lot of arguing online about it. I saw one person argue that it's just because of their lax news laws that they report on everything, but there's some stuff that happens there that I swear I've never heard of it happening anywhere else.
That is so interesting. I've never heard that before, the relaxed news laws. I'm gonna have to look into that.
On Sunday morning in Dallas, Texas, Ramon Thomas Villagomez hijacked a city bus and held the driver at gunpoint. In a real-life speed situation, a police chase began on the President George Bush Turnpike as the authorities were notified of the hijacking. Villagomez fired at the police vehicles in pursuit of the bus, and one officer was injured from the shooting. Police were able to put down a spike strip on the freeway, causing the tires to blow and disabling the bus. Villagomez was then shot once he exited the bus. Villagomez is also a suspect in the recent murder of his girlfriend, Catherine Menendez.
Each week, we'll try to introduce you to a podcast that might be new for you. This week's favorite podcast is 90s Crime Time. We are so excited to have Simone with us from this week's favorite podcast, 90s Crime Time. If you love the fabulous decade of the 90s and you love true crime, this is definitely the podcast for you. Hello, Simone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yay. So let's start with, where are you right now and how is the quarantine going for you?
I'm in the Nashville area and I'm an essential worker. So I'm not under quarantine about 9-10 hours of the day, but I do go home immediately right after work. I work very early when no one's awake anyway. So yeah, I just go right on home. There's no rush hour, there's no traffic. So go to work, go home.
Well, that part at least must be nice. I'm sure it's incredibly stressful right now, still having to work and still being in sort of scary situations, but the no traffic thing, I'm from Los Angeles. So the idea of there not being traffic is the things of dreams.
Right. Now, believe it or not, Nashville has a ton of traffic as well. Not like LA standards, but it does take a while to get home from where I live to Nashville. It's usually not now, but usually.
Well, that's at least one silver lining. I love that.
Right. Right.
Well, Simone, let's go ahead and get started with what inspired you to start your podcast.
Okay, well, I started it because I grew up watching Dateline, 48 Hours, the True Crime Network uh, shows on like network TV. And then as I got older, I watched a lot of Oxygen and like Snapped and like Investigation Discovery, the ID channel when it was
Yes.
created. So, I've been hooked ever since.
Ah, those are all such good options. And
Yeah.
right now, I don't have access to cable TV, so I try to watch things online. But I just
Mhm.
discovered recently that some of like the classic shows like I Survived and Snapped are now available in podcast form. I don't know if you
Hmm.
noticed.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And it seems like they're covering, like maybe they're just pulling out the audio on old episodes right now, but I'm hoping that maybe we get some new episodes that we haven't seen that way too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yes, fingers crossed. So what originally got you into true crime? Was there maybe a hometown murder that you were really fascinated with when you were a kid? Maybe like a big case in the media? Like what got you started into true crime?
Um, well, besides me watching it growing up, I just like to know, like, I like a good mystery, like who done it. I like to see all the people who, like you see on TV, there's like someone who died and they show, who his or her like relatives are. And I'm like, oh, well, that one did it. The husband did it. The wife did it. I just like to, see in the end if I was right. And that's why I got so hooked on true crime. And there's also a lot of crimes from like the days before I was born, the years before I was born. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not amazing, because it's not amazing when people are murdered, but
Right.
it's just so fascinating to see how, people are so angry and, why they were murdered and motives and things like that. That's why I'm kind of hooked on true crime at the moment.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's so fun to try to guess who did it. Like, do you feel like you're often right when you make guesses? Like, have you learned from watching all these things, got a feel for who the bad guy is?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes they'll throw it in there like a loop, like, oh my gosh, really? They did it? Wow. But, sometimes by like context clues, you can sort of tell, especially when they show first and last name of people. I've come to realize that, like, they show the first and last name. Okay, yeah, they probably did something or had something to do with the crime.
That is so smart. I've never thought to look for that before. You're right. Like,
Yeah,
why are they using their first and last name? Because they're
yeah,
in prison.
yeah. They're a suspect.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Simone, are there any recent cases going on in the news right now that have piqued your interest?
Well, yes. Well, it was a crime in 2016. It was a 2-year-old child or a few months or like a older month child who was murdered. And 2 years later, her stepmother and father were arrested for her murder. And that her name was Jariah Smith. It was in Mississippi, and her father and stepmother were taking donations for her burial and for grieving and emotional support, and it come to find out they're the ones being arrested for her murder. So, you know, apparently her dad apparently had an affair and made the baby outside the marriage, and his wife was really like scorned, and so she took it out on the child, which it just, I mean, I love triangles. I'm not gonna lie, they're really messy, but sometimes they can be quite funny. And not gonna lie, but when you bring a child into it and you take it out on the child, that that's not funny. That's really bad. And I've been following ever since. And like since this last year, they're out on bail or on bond. And I don't know when the trial is. I was just amazed. You take it out on the daughter. It's not her fault.
That's so sick. And I'm the same as you. Like, I love a good love triangle scandal. Like, they're so fascinating. And
Hmm.
like, especially when they turn murdery, like when you get like a snap sort of scenario, I think they're so
Yeah.
fascinating. But to kill like an innocent child that has absolutely nothing to do with like the love triangle, that has nothing to do with the cheating, like,
Yeah.
why?
Right. Right.
I don't know about you, but I feel like maybe like I just wasn't paying attention to these sorts of cases like up until recently. But I feel like there's been a whole lot more cases of parents killing their children or like missing children. We have the Lori Vallow case that's been big right now. Like, what is going on that
I know.
like people are hurting their children?
Yeah, I don't think these children were planned, and so they're really angry about it. But still, what it takes to make a child. So I don't know.
Yeah, and you have options too.
Yeah,
like
you do.
that's so sad. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's new for me, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Simone, it's been so great having you here with us. We want to let our watchers know how they can find you on social media.
Okay, you can find 90s Crime Time on Instagram, where it originally started, on Twitter and Tumblr, and Facebook is in the works, and we also have a website.
That's great. And I actually forgot that your show started as an Instagram page. Is that correct?
Right. I had no plan on doing a podcast anytime soon, but my followers were like, well, when are you going to start a podcast and all this? And I was like, you know what? I'll just give them what they want.
That's right. And we definitely want more 90s crimes because I love a good vintage crime. Yeah. I love the 90s. I love the fashion of it. Like it's so big right now. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a 90s child to the end. I love the 90s.
Awesome. Well, everyone be sure to check out 90s Crime Time, especially on Instagram, because seriously, your Instagram's the best.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And also don't forget to follow 90s Crime Time wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode.
This week, we're watching The Innocence Files on Netflix. The show covers cases the Innocence Project has reviewed, and each episode does a breakdown of an individual case. Since the 1992 foundation of the Innocence Project, their work has exonerated nearly 200 innocent people. Faulty science, overhyped witnesses, system issues, racism, and agenda-driven prosecutors can all contribute to a wrongful conviction. The show covers some really fascinating cases, so be sure to tune in and let us know your favorites in the comments below. I'm just so excited that a show like this exists because honestly I've watched so many shows about things like false convictions and false confessions, and like every time I'm just struck by how many cases there are like this. So like it's really refreshing to finally watch something where it's about somebody doing something about it.
Yeah, it's so true. And I don't know if you listened to the podcast In the Dark about Curtis Flowers.
No, I haven't.
Well, it's a really cool case where he was actually tried 6 times and he was acquitted at least a couple of those times. And the case kept getting reevaluated because the DA in the case kept selecting all white jurors every single time for his case. So it's actually, the case has been reevaluated by the Supreme Court. It's been overturned again, so he's currently at home free because it sounds like he really was innocent. Like I believe he was innocent. And the woman who made the podcast, Madeline Baran, like it's really her doing that the case has been reevaluated because I don't think the case was getting much attention. So she's a freaking hero.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Great to hear that.
We actually have an extra special wrongful conviction case to discuss this week. Let's take a look.
My name's George Stinney Jr. But everybody called me Junior.
Why they got a kid like you in here?
When I was 14 years old, brought me here to protect me. They say I killed 2 white girls.
What did you do?
But I didn't. Nothing.
Are you trying to tell me that we've got the wrong guy?
What's the truth?
Well, I don't know. We got 2 little girls killed. And this town is gonna want somebody to pay.
Where's your pa?
At the mill, sir.
Boy confessed. You made him lie!
I don't care how you do it, but you clean this mess up, and you do it fast.
In 1944, George Stinney Jr. became the youngest person to be executed in the U.S. at the age of 14. He was convicted of murdering 2 white girls in Alcolu, South Carolina, and his entire case from arrest to conviction lasted 83 days. His trial took just 2.5 hours, and the all-white jury returned their guilty verdict after only 10 minutes of deliberation. 70 years after his execution, a judge overturned Stinney's conviction, stating he had not received a fair trial. It's a tragic story, but one that is so important to tell. We are so lucky to have 2 very special guests from the short film 83 Days with us today. We would like to welcome director Andrew Howell and writer and executive producer Ray Brown.
Hi.
Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And how did you find out about George Stinney Jr.'s case, and what inspired you to tell his story?
Well, I was back in, I think, 2011. I was preparing to write another project, another story, and I was kind of procrastinating a little bit, and I came across during that procrastination something that said that a 14-year-old was executed. Now, I thought this just happened that year, and as I started to do research, I realized that it had happened back in 1944. And the next question that I asked myself is, why have we not heard about this? It's from that point on I decided to drop the other project that I was working on and start trying to develop this film. And that's kind of the cliff notes of it all.
I was working on a series that my wife and I are writing called Ink to Ashes. It was the story of the Tulsa race riots in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My wife's from Oklahoma. She's from Tulsa. And I was looking, we had raised a little bit of money of our own to put towards proof of concept for that film. But to try to do a mini series is a tough undertaking. So I started pitching that trying to raise the funds, $25 million, to make a mini series, or to maybe make a short or something like that. I came across a common friend through the internet, and through that he introduced me to Ray, and ultimately, and that was Lucius Baston. He's one of the actors in the project, and Lou introduced me to Ray. Ray and I sat down and talked. I read the script and I wept. I was like, this is amazing. And at the time, the script was like 118 pages. He had been trying to make a film for like 5 years, Ray? Something like that.
By that time, yeah, probably about 7 years, something like that.
Wow.
So I was like, hey, I think that we can make a really great short film out of this. My background is history coverage. I've done a lot of narrative drama work. So I didn't see any of the barriers that I think a lot of people saw when they see period. I saw like opportunity. I was like, look, I can do this. Like I got, this is like made for me. And so I said, hey, can you cut the film down to 20 minutes, 20 pages? And he was like, no. And so will you give me a shot at it? And he said, sure. So he gave Summer 3 weeks. I said, well, look, give us 3 weeks. And he gave us 3 weeks, and we did. We cut it from 118 pages down to roughly 18. And I think we cut it to like 20, and then again, 18, something like that. And that was the final script. That's what we ended up making. So that's how right?
Yeah.
Where can our viewers find you now? Can they find you on social media? Is there any place they can watch the film?
Absolutely. So we're 83 Days at 83 Days Movie and at 83 Days Film are our handles, and we have an Instagram out there. We haven't been doing a lot of action on it lately. Facebook, we're active on our Facebook Messenger, so if they want to hit us up on Facebook Messenger, follow the Facebook page. As soon as we get a link to the screener up, we'll be posting it there, and we'll probably do for those people that are in our social media, we'll probably do some kind of special limited time screening, discounts where they can come in and watch it just to get an initial push there and get people out there and get excited and sharing it with everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's so great. Andrew and Ray, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. We love the film. We continue all of our viewers to go out and watch it and find you all on social media. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
To check out our full interview with Andrew Paul Howe and Ray Brown, check out our director's cut with all the good details on the film down below.
We wanted to do a shout out to our awesome viewers this week. Keep those comments coming. Min Fan commented about the murder of Gretchen Anthony, saying they live in Jupiter, Florida, and that story would be much bigger if there wasn't so much going on, which is so true. So much is overshadowed by the pandemic. Also, thanks to Twitter user Caitlin Nanini for the sweet comments. We're so happy that we're able to frame these gruesome stories in a way that helps with your anxiety.
Also this week on our social media, Josh Mankiewicz from Dateline mentioned our segment on homicide detective Sharon Kim, saying, "Great story on a friend of mine who takes her job very seriously." Clearly, if Josh Mankiewicz wants more Detective Sharon Kim, we need to have her on our show, so stay tuned for a special appearance coming soon.
Thanks so much for tuning into This Week in True Crime with Murder Murder News. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, give us a thumbs up, and tell all of your true crime friends.
If you need more of a true crime fix, join our commune at murdermurder.news for our monster book club and cold case solving groups. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. See you next week.
Murder, murder, news.